Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 441 for the 2nd of April 2017. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia. Grey, overcast, not so hot today. This is sort of the weather I like, really. A bit of rain lately. Bit of rain. I think we're in for some more. We had a bit of rain a couple of nights ago when Maynard, Lara Benham and I ventured out to see Brian Greene, the physicist, talk here in Sydney. It was a Think Inc. event. It was downtown Sydney and there was a howling gale. You'll hear some of that coming up as we visit the Think Inc. event and hear Brian Greene talk about, wow, the stars, the fate of the universe, time travel. Are we all holograms? It went on and on. It was an incredible talk. What an interesting talk. Maynard was there with his microphone to cover the flavour of the night. You'll get a little bit of a sample of what it was like. But more importantly, you'll hear from the people who were there and what they thought of this fascinating scientist. And thank you to the good people at Think Inc. In fact, I think Maynard will be interviewing Desh from Think Inc. during his report. All that is coming up a bit later on in the show. But before we get to Brian Greene, we've got Shelley Stocken. Take stock. Take stock with Shelley Stocken. She's going to be reviewing a report on the Skeptics website about Paleo Pete Evans. Now, he has been criticised for his somewhat irresponsible, shall we say, comments about health and medicine. He's a celebrity TV chef, Pete Evans, and we're going to be reviewing what he said. He went on TV to try and justify his more contentious opinions. Shelley Stocken will give us her opinion on Pete Evans. That's at the top of the show. Also coming up, as ever, we have Brew Ha Ha from Australia Science TV. This week we're looking at natural disasters and cyclones and things with Ben Lewis. Then to round off the show, more about a story we brought you last week. I think it was about Orgone Energy and their Orgone Effects Geoclense. This is the block of resin you plug into the wall and it does nothing. More background and a report from the skeptics about that particular device coming up to round off the Skeptic Zone. But before we get stuck into any of that, a big congratulations to Maynard, our reporter, who last night at the Castaway Podcast Awards here in Sydney won his category for the Planet Maynard podcasts at maynard.com.au. Yes, Planet Maynard podcasts are number one in comedy and entertainment. Congratulations, Maynard. I was there on the night to... Actually, I was there as Maynard's sidekick last night, doing a lot of video work for Maynard, and it was such a rush, such a pleasure to be there and to hear Maynard's name being called out. In fact, why don't we hear that right now?
So, on with the awards. The finalists in this category, We Fact Up, Planet Maynard, and The Ginny Show. And now, hopefully this isn't an Oscars. The winner of the comedy and entertainment category is Planet Maynard.
It's so exciting being given this by an ABC employee. Because the Dirty Disbelievers podcast they described as overproduced and self-indulgent. I said, have you heard the 702 Drive show? Underproduced and self-indulgent. But anyway, I'd like to thank not so much God, but the trilogy, the Holy Trinity. Adam Curry from the No Agenda show, Richard Saunders from the Skeptic Zone, John C. Dvorak also from the No Agenda show, and also Basically, the Ginny Show and All Fact Up, the other people in the category, they were fantastic. They should have won. This is a mistake. And people say, well, how did you win that? Basically, get in the first year any award's going, really. After that, they tend to go a bit, thank you and good night.
Congratulations to all the finalists and especially to the winner of the 2017 Castaway Comedy and Entertainment Award, Maynard from Planet Maynard.
Wow. Here we are at the after party here in Cleveland Street. It's all a bit wild. I'm hoping to go over to the Victoria Park pool and be naked there later, fairly shortly, swimming around, because I bloody won something. Richard, I actually won something.
Maynard, Planet Maynard, the best podcast in the comedy section.
Yes.
Well, what a shock. Of course. And people who listen to Maynard at maynard.com.au know that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was kind of cool. And to get up there, and was my speech okay? It wasn't too long?
I'm still laughing about it. The crowd were roaring with laughter. It was a great speech.
I think we have some of the audio there. We can have a listen to it there. And look, there's people on the red carpet, so I can actually go on the red carpet legitimately because I'm actually a winner. So
here's the odd thing. If you go on the red carpet, you'll have to talk to yourself because you're the guy interviewing people on the red carpet. But you're a winner tonight too. Congratulations, Maynard. And that, folks, is why my voice is sounding a little bit husky this morning, because we were shouting and screaming and carrying on for many hours and having a really great time. Maynard.com.au to listen to his award-winning podcast. And people have asked me why the Skeptic Zone wasn't entered into these podcasts awards. It sort of snuck up on me. And I think it came to my attention at some stage or other when I was very busy, and I really just didn't get around to it. I guess I really don't do the Skeptic Zone to win awards. However, I might take a careful look and possibly enter the Skeptic Zone in for the next ones next year. But that's quite all right. Last night was Maynard's night. And finally, before we hear the music that starts the rest of the Skeptic Zone, I want to say a heartfelt thank you to the wonderful work and fabulous reports and beautiful voice of Jo Alabaster, our reporter, who is stepping down from the Skeptic Zone after being with us for a number of years. Thank you, Jo. Your reports were fantastic. They're all online. People can easily go back and listen to your wonderful reports that were not only well written, they were beautifully delivered. Jo, you've got one of the best radio voices I've ever heard that's not on radio. And we were certainly very lucky to have use of your writing and broadcasting talents here on the Skeptic Zone. Thank you, Jo Alabaster. I hope we'll see more of you and hear more of you in the future. But as you know, life can get in the way of doing all sorts of things. We will certainly miss Evidence Please, but fear not, you'll hear Jo's voice occasionally on the Skeptic Zone with those ads we run for the Skeptics Dictionary, and of course Harriet Hall's range of videos on complementary and alternative medicine. All right, so now it's time for me to... Where's that button? Oh, there it is. I'll press that in a second. While I press that, as I'm pressing that, I'm going to run downstairs. Have the leftover turkey sausages. I think a turkey with some sort of pine nut, is there, or something, and garlic. Turkey, garlic sort of sausages out of the fridge. They're cold, but they're good. I'll give my voice a bit of a rest. While I'm doing all of that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Interesting claims, questioning, take stock with Shelley Stocken.
Hi, I'm Shelley Stocken, and today I'm going to talk about the difference between qualifications and quackery. Australian listeners will no doubt be familiar with Chef Pete Evans, also known as Paleo Pete, celebrity food taster and our most vocal advocate of the paleo diet, among other things. Tim Mendham from the Australian Skeptics published an article on skeptics.com.au on the 29th of March this year about a recent television interview with Evans, which I'll read for you now. Pete Evans, celebrity chef, paleo diet promoter, and 2015 winner of the Australian Skeptics Bent Spoon Award, can't understand why the Australian Medical Association thinks he's irresponsible and putting people's health at risk by exercising his wilful arrogance in mischievously questioning medical advice. Well, he said, following a barrage of criticism from the AMA and others. The AMA has once again tweeted that I am putting people's lives at risk. Why? Evans appeared on Channel 7's Sunday night program to set the record straight, and was immediately blasted over Twitter by the AMA itself and by the organisation's federal vice president, Tony Bartoni. The AMA tweeted, Pete Evans putting his fans' health at risk with extreme advice on diet, fluoride, calcium. Celebrity chef shouldn't dabble in medicine. Bartoni chipped in with, willful arrogance mischievously questioning medical advice. Decades of scientific research. Celebrities putting health at risk. On the Sunday night interview, Evans asked, what do you need a qualification for to talk common sense? Why do you have to study something that is outdated, that is industry-backed, that is biased, that is not getting the results? That would be insane to study something that you're going to waste your time with. That's just crazy. It's just crazy. Why are doctors experts in fluoride, and what are their qualifications to be up to date with the neurotoxins that fluoride is? I would send them the information if they ask. There is a mountain of information. When questioned by Sunday night interviewer Alex Cullen about the sources of his claims, Evans responded, "You're a journalist. You should be doing the research yourself." In response to the AMA tweets, he asked via Facebook, is the AMA in the pockets of the pharmaceutical industries, and are they in the business of helping people get healthy? The AMA wasn't the only one to criticise Evans. The National Aboriginal Community Controlled Health Organisation, the peak body for Indigenous health, branded Evans the kitchen's Pauline Hanson. Evans has been heavily criticised for a range of statements on medicine, health and diet, including his anti-vax and anti-fluoride stances, his suggestions that dairy products draw calcium out of bones, his comments claiming that most sunscreen lotions are toxic, and his promotion of bone broth for babies, which led to his latest diet book being pulped. AMA President Michael Gannon told Sky News that Evans is an opinion leader, and when it comes to things like the importance of adding fluoride to the water in those parts of Australia where there's not the natural levels of fluoride to protect teeth, when it comes to some of his comments about nutrition and about important dietary sources of calcium, and now he's dipped a toe in the water when it comes to vaccination, he needs to be more responsible. He's got some fairly flaky ideas. We know some of the people he communicates with in terms of his so-called sources. He should stick to the pearl couscous and the scientists can stick to pertussis. On the same Channel 7 interview, Evans' wife, Nicola Robinson, insisted that he isn't a whack job, and Evans himself admitted that he suffered from crippling shyness. I was a really shy kid, he says. It's been something that's been with me all my life. Even now I like to keep a low profile, believe it or not. It might be hard to believe, but it would definitely be better for everyone if he did keep a low profile. That's where Tim's article ends. My take? Pete Evans isn't the first person to digest a plateful of half-baked reckons and use them to poo on the hard-earned qualifications of experts, and he won't be the last. Valuing unqualified personal opinions over expert advice seems to be very much on trend in the natural health arena. But when you apply this dismissive attitude to other areas of interest and industry, it starts to fall apart. Would you want a clown to check your teeth? A vet to fix your car? A taxidermist mixing cocktails at your favourite bar? Would you trust your local chippy to negotiate world peace? Or a self-employed ventriloquist commanding the police? Would you ask a mime to paint your house? A judge to groom your pet? A famous escapologist to fly a jumbo jet? Would you ask a Weimaraner for directions to the station? Or a TV chef and co-host for advice on vaccination? When you break your lower tibia, you don't consult a cook. That's when orthopaedic specialists and nurses get a look. Sure, a chef can poach an egg or make a cheese sauce from a roux. But for health advice, choose somebody who's got a frickin' clue. I'm Shelley Stocken. Thanks for having me in your ear holes.
Üdv! Kraskó Gábor vagyok, a Skeptikus Társaság Egyesület és a Skeptikus Szervezetek Európai Tanácsának elnöke. Mint a Skeptic Zone podcast hallgatója, bizonyára te is fontosnak tartod az áltudományokkal kapcsolatos felvilágosítást, a kritikai gondolkodást és annak népszerűsítését. Ha szeretnél részt venni ilyen tevékenységben, vedd fel velünk a kapcsolatot a www.skeptikustársaság.hu vagy az info@skeptikus.hu címen. Továbbá ajánlom figyelmetbe Facebook oldalunkat is, amit a facebook.com/Skeptikus-társaság címen találsz, valamint várunk szeretettel rendezvényeinken. Hi, this is Gábor Raskó, President of the Hungarian Skeptics Society and Chairman of the European Council of Skeptical Organizations. As a listener of the Skeptic Zone, you probably agree that educating others about pseudoscience and critical thinking is an important task. If you are eager to take part in either of these activities, we would be happy to hear from you. Don't hesitate to contact us at www.skeptikus.hu or info@skeptikus.hu. We also recommend you visiting our Facebook page, Skeptikus Társaság, or simply come and join us at one of our events.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Welcome to a truly horrible night as far as Sydney weather goes. Now, I know Richard likes to let everyone out in the international world know what the weather in Australia is like. Well, it's raining tonight. People are getting wet. People are running around going, oh, my goodness, Bruce, hold the umbrella. All that sort of stuff's going on here. And we're seeing Brian Greene, who, of course, wrote The Art of Course Acting and The Year of Living Dangerously. I think that's the Brian... no, that's another Greene. Well, he invented a colour that is on the spectrum. He did lots of stuff. Well, look, I'll be boning up on who Brian Greene is in the next 10 minutes. Richard, how are you?
I'm well. I'm a bit soggy wet. This is the... we're getting the sort of the tail end or the front of Cyclone Debbie, in fact, here in Sydney.
Yeah, we're in the International Conference Centre or whatever it's called, and just imagine if your parents made something and you weren't allowed to sit on it because plastic was on everything, and then they took the plastic off. That's exactly what this entire building looks like, doesn't it, Richard?
It's very new, Maynard, and we're looking for a drink.
We are indeed. And as you may know, Sydney's lockout laws are fairly extensive, so if you actually want to have a drink at any time, particularly once the sun goes down, forget it, international visitors. But, hang on, they've found a bar.
Yeah, well, we found somewhere just across into the shopping centre. That's where we can get a drink.
This is good, because this is one of the new bars, which has a good chance that because it's a new bar, that none of us have actually been banned from it yet. That's good. And how are you tonight? Who have we got here?
Hi, it's Lara. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, look, that sounds pretty good then. It's raining outside. Do you think this will affect the science-orientated crowd coming this evening?
I hope not. I don't think so. It certainly wouldn't in England, otherwise we'd literally never go out.
That's true. You're right. I guess I'm talking to someone who's used to rain. And when I say the name Brian Greene to you, what thoughts come to mind?
Physics.
Is he a theoretical one?
I think he is, yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess...
No, we're in the howling gale.
Okay, rightio. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, no, you've probably heard about Tropical Cyclone Debbie, which hit Queensland in the north of Australia.
As I said, this is part of it.
Now, of course, this mainly damaged the Whitsundays and the Mackay area and did affect a wide area, but did not in fact destroy Queensland as the media would have you believe. And as the Queenslanders will tell you, they're tough, and they say bring it on every time a cyclone comes, and they spray graffiti about the cyclone and everything. They're not scared about it. Can't scare Queenslanders. Yeah. Now, of course, we play the Maynard Skeptic Zone bingo when we go to Anything Inc., particularly if it's a physicist. The terms we are looking for are Planck time, hologram theory,
Multiverse.
And multiverse, bit too easy, but a good one nonetheless. But Planck time is the one, because no one's been able to explain Planck time to me correctly for all the years I've been asking about it. It's probably me rather than people explaining it that's a problem, I think. And also, we do love hologram theory, which gets a laugh, and probably from a physicist gets a grimace. But we'll see what happens. And of course, Richard, for Brian Greene, what will you be interested in the world of physics? What are you hoping he's talked about? Of course, we know my one's Planck time. And I do like a bit of hologram theory.
Time travel. Always a favourite of mine ever since I was a kid, ever since I was a little kid watching Doctor Who.
So where would you go?
This silence, folks, is because I don't know. The future, I think.
Oh, the future would be interesting, but I think he's going to say something about you might not be able to go one way. Like you might not be able to go back, you might not be able to go forward.
You can only go forward.
Okay.
You can't go back.
Look, well, why am I bother going to see Brian Greene? Spoiler alarm. Richard Saunders answers physics questions for you, so you don't have to go see some guy who spent time at uni.
Yeah, well, think of all the times that you think, oh, I wish I could go back and do something differently in my life. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work like that. Never has, never will. And we're not flooded by tourists from the future, are we? Unless you're from the future, I've often wondered.
I do live in the future,
you do?
But I'm not from there, because even they won't have me.
And then, of course, it was time to go in and see Dr. Brian Greene blow our minds with his theoretical and sometimes not so theoretical physics.
Perhaps we'd like to test the applause sound again. Can we get a cheer for Brian Greene and science in general and all the people who came up with science?
Time travel is absolutely possible. If you, for instance, go near the edge of a black hole, time slows down. Spend a few weeks there, the rate at which time elapses for you is very, very slow, and you come back to Earth, and it is the future. It may be 1 million years into the future. Time travel is absolutely possible.
Pleasure to be here, and we are a species that asks questions, right? That's really who we are. And one of the biggest questions of all is, why are we here? Not here at the ICC Sydney. I know why we're here, to have a conversation about time and reality, but why are we alive, right? What is life? What is consciousness? I mean, what do you or I, this planet, this galaxy, this universe, what does it all mean? Well, I don't know. So thank you very much for coming. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
So it falls to me just to say what an honour it's been to share the stage with Dr. Brian Greene and share this auditorium with you as we discuss these big, wondrous ideas. And I hope that we'll round out the evening. You've sat very patiently, you're probably numb in the legs, but I'm hoping we can end with an applause worthy of deaf Beethoven.
I mean, Dr. Brian Greene really blew my tiny ape brain, and my brain was a bit scrambled, but after the event, my brain was not the only one that had been scrambled, as you'll hear.
Now, how were you inspired, Andrew, by Brian Greene, if at all? Or maybe you were a bit more nonplussed by the whole physics experiment here tonight?
Blown away, utterly blown away. Yeah, sat here and just let it all flow in, flow over, flow through me. Just fascinating, great communicator.
What was your most interesting bit that made you go, oh yeah, imagine that?
Well, when he was talking about string theory, I was wondering whether they'll be listening as much as they're looking for evidence on, in a collision. Are they also listening at that time, and what would that sound like? So,
okay, yeah. Well, by what he was saying, they're about halfway to be able to sing at 18 to the 0 or something. They've got to get to 38 or something like that, so they're halfway there. That's easy for us to say sitting here, having a few drinks.
Well, that's the other thing, is these sort of simple... He gave some great graphic analogies showing time scales, and they used the Empire State Building as a way of saying, this is where the Big Bang was, and this is where ultimately it all peters out. And that was... It sort of gave you a sense of...
the whole thing. Look, I think you're hearing the sound of a man's mind who's been a bit blown, I think.
Wonderful, absolutely best night I've spent, for a long time. It's great.
Wandering through the crowd in the foyer afterwards here, everyone's fairly inspired by the whole thing. What did you find the most inspiring about Dr. Greene this evening?
Oh, good Lord, everything. I know nothing about science.
Well, was there one fact that blew your mind more than anything else?
How little I knew. Yeah.
What, so you walked in there going, I know all of this guy.
No, I know nothing. Right. I know nothing. I'm interested in it all. So I just kind of feel like my brain has exploded out of my ears.
Yeah, I've been spoken to a few people that feel a bit like that. I hope it gets better.
Yeah,
I know everyone's got that. Wow, that really blew me out there. Lara, how do you feel about the whole thing?
That was great.
Because I was sitting there and look, it ticked a lot. He did mention hologram theory in a way, that we could be a simulation. He did mention that.
Oh, I love that.
He did mention Max Planck. So Planck time got it.
Holes as well.
He needs to get around more.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, cool. Well, okay, yeah. Look, Eran is here from the Skeptics, of course. And Eran, what blew your mind about what was going on stage tonight with Dr. Greene?
The excitement.
Yep.
I think a scientist who's really excited about the message they're delivering, when somebody like that is on stage and they talk about the science and they make it accessible in some sense, but mostly that makes it really exciting for people who are not involved in this specific scientific area on a day-to-day basis. I think that's the only thing that's important. I know quite a bit about physics. Obviously, I'm not professional in this area, but again, time and again, I watch Neil deGrasse Tyson says things that I know already, or Brian Greene says the things that I know already, but I still find it fascinating because the way they communicate it, the excitement that they cause in the audience, that is, to me, the main thing.
So you're someone who's physics curious?
A little bit more than that.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
But yeah.
But you can see everyone getting really excited about the whole thing.
Yes, absolutely.
But he also said that every scientist shouldn't really have to be a science communicator as well. Some of them can just get on with it.
Absolutely true. I mean, I think in every area, we have a similar kind of debate, within the skeptical/atheist community, for example, about the Richard Dawkins approach, as opposed to, maybe we should go softly, or maybe we should go all shouty.
I love the Dawkins approach just because the way he winds everybody up. Yes. But the problem is that there's a lot of blowback from that.
No, but the thing is, the reason Richard Dawkins communicates the way he does is because he's Richard Dawkins, and and you have other people who communicate differently, and that's fine. Different people bring their perspective and their attitude and their personality to the way they communicate, and some people just don't communicate. And the reality is that you don't need every scientist to communicate to the general public. Of course, they all communicate within the scientific establishment and within with their conferences and magazines and all of that. But it's enough that we have some scientists who are capable of speaking about these things to the public in a way that Brian Greene does very well.
That's cool. Thanks, Ray. Cool. We're going to have to talk to you about. Look, there's a whole bunch of people with their mind blown here, Aletha. What was the thing he said that blew your mind the most?
Too much. Cannot speak. Okay.
Yeah, everyone's a bit like that. Yeah.
During the Q&A session, so many interesting questions, but talking about how they go about proving string theory, the different experiments that will probably be inconclusive and not show us anything, but also the very basic question of how does string theory unite general relativity and quantum theory. And he gave what was up to a point a really clear explanation, and then it all fell apart for my little brain. And I really wish that we had some visual aids.
Yes, because we had the Venn diagrams of the different theories, and I think it's not clear how they do mesh. Maybe that's why we didn't understand it.
And earlier on, he had such amazing visuals to show us about, the heat death of the universe, which helped my uneducated liberal arts brain understand.
The concept of time taking so long that even black holes evaporate. Get your head around that one, people.
Yeah, and we all might be a brain in the future.
That's true, yeah.
We all might be the creation of a brain in the future, or a simulation.
Yes.
I've often thought that Maynard is a simulation.
Yeah, so I think we've all got a lot to ponder upon, so good luck with it. I know I can't understand it.
I can't either, but that was an awesome event.
And Richard, of course, what did you find that was going on there? Well, what was blowing your little tiny ape brain?
My tiny ape brain.
Oh, well, that's why I refer to mine. I thought since I know you, I could say the same thing.
Yes, I like the when he was talking about people in the far, far, far future would look out and just see a tiny cluster of galaxies and think there's nothing beyond it, because their instruments are saying there's nothing beyond it, because the light from the galaxies are so far away and they're moving so fast that they're faster than the speed of light, so the light can't get back to this galaxy. And that was interesting.
Well, don't get me started on ancient alien theory, because no one listens to what the Egyptians were saying now, and we would be worse than the Egyptians to those people then.
What were they saying?
Oh, well, there's gods and stuff. Ra.
Yeah. There you go.
And they were controlled by cats.
I believe that.
And I'm here with Desh, and what's your role with Thinking, Desh?
I'm the founder of Thinking.
Wow, okay. So Brian Greene is like a rock star within the world of thinking. So tell me, what does he have on his rider? What kind of things does a physicist ask for backstage?
Well, the only requirement, he's a strict vegan.
Okay.
So that is not to say he asks for, I want this and that. He just says, I'll have anything vegan.
Okay.
So apart from that, nothing else. It's very, he likes water and soy milk.
Now, of course, you've seen a lot of people here walking out with their heads spinning because of all the concepts that have been introduced. How do you go as someone that's been to every thinking thing and sort of got it going? How did your brain go tonight with some of the concepts we got introduced to?
Somebody tweeted today saying, I've been to so many thinking events and it surprised me at every event. There's so many people and I learned something. That's the reality. Every event, this is the second show of the tour, and I still learn things going, oh, wow, I never thought of it like that. And it's like that. It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure.
It is still an unusual thing in culture to see a whole bunch of people give a standing ovation to someone's intelligence. You don't get that every day.
So the whole idea behind Thinking is just that. We want to make intelligent thinkers, people with ideas, the pop culture icons of our society. Maybe an idealistic way of the world, but, Kardashians have a place, but Brian Greenes and Neil deGrasse Tyson should have a place in society in a similar level. That is a grand idea of thinking.
Look, I know you've got a lot of people coming. Who's the one you're looking forward to the most? Just pick one. I know you've got a lot of people coming. That's a tough question. Just one.
Someone's pulling my leg, so I have to say Skepticon, which is actually, I'll be quite honest. The original thinking concept was an one-day ideas festival that didn't necessarily go to plan, so Skepticon is kind of like the one that's going to go right.
Okay, thanks, Desh. Now, you've got a lot to do there. You've got more riders to figure. You've got to chase up some vegan wine, so you do that, man.
I'll do it. Thank you. Thank you.
And now, direct from the cafe at Australia's Science Channel, it's Brew Ha Ha with Ben Lewis.
As Cyclone Debbie basses Queensland, it's time to remember how important it is to stay informed during natural disasters. The internet's great, but let's face it, it's easy to come across some pretty dodgy info. And it's not just the cyclones, but bushfires, floods, and all the things Australia throws at us. There's no time to waste trying to work out what's credible and what's not, and it's all too tempting to just read everything. So to make good decisions without getting wrapped up in information overload, limit yourself to a few credible science-backed sources. If you want to know about the storm itself, the best place to head for info is the Bureau of Meteorology. They're the folks who are collecting data in real time. They're always improving their own ability to forecast cyclones by using a mixture of satellite imagery and computer modelling. However, cyclones are generally pretty unpredictable in their movement and intensity, so you can't expect perfection, but they're pretty damn good at it. And if you're hunkered down at home, keep an eye, or even better, an ear, on the local ABC. As the official emergency broadcaster, their equipment is built to withstand disasters. They will constantly broadcast emergency information from the state emergency services and other credible sources. If you are in northern Queensland at the moment, stay informed and stay safe. We'll see you on the other side.
For more Brew Ha Ha and Australian science, head for www.australiascience.tv.
Greetings, listeners. It's me, Captain Disillusion. On my YouTube channel called Captain Disillusion, I, Captain Disillusion, analyze viral videos of the strange and unbelievable. I explain how interframe video compression, 3D motion tracking, and stock VFX elements prove that Justin Bieber is not a secret reptilian alien, that those videos of ghost cars are just unintentional optical illusions, and that lightning did not strike a few feet away from a girl on a beach as we saw in the news. I'm real fun at parties. My best friend is a lens flare.
Eat a dimmer switch, Disillusion.
I do know other people. Sometimes they even show up in my videos. People like Skepticism's grandpa, James Randi, Cirque du Soleil acrobat Erica Lins, weight loss enthusiast Penn Jillette, and the actual Beekman from Beekman's World. I hope you'll check out my adventures, interact with me in a platonic way, and even consider becoming a patron of my work. You can do all that and more on YouTube or at CaptainDisillusion.com.
On last week's episode of the Skeptic Zone, I mentioned the report by Choice magazine into the Geoclense Home Harmonizer from Orgone Effects Australia. Now, this is a small lump of resin with a power plug sort of glued on or implanted into it, so you can plug it into a power outlet. Why? I don't know. It doesn't do anything. Now, this block is about 1 inch by 2 inches or something like that. It's not very big, and it's green. It looks like the sort of green you would get if you bought something that glowed in the dark. Maybe it glows in the dark. I don't know. The claims for this block of resin are extravagant and vague and precise all at the same time. It's like a good luck charm. But after the report from Choice magazine, Tim Mendham from Australian Skeptics and I put together this little item, which you can find at skeptics.com.au. Choice rubbishes Home Harmonizer. No effect and a waste of money. Published on the 27th of May 2017. Choice has put the so-called Geoclense Home Harmonizer through a test and found it to be a waste of money and sure to turn off your friends. Geoclense is sold as a, quote, geopathic stress and electromagnetic radiation harmonizer, end quote. That does sound extravagant. I love this geopathic stress. I think that's to do with the mythical ley lines or earth energy or E-rays or things like that. The product, supplied by Victorian company Orgone Effects Australia, is a solid block of green plastic resin with a plug moulded into the back. It has no components or circuitry. It is simply a block and a plug. When plugged into a PowerPoint, it's claimed to neutralize the effect of what Choice describes as, quote, a startlingly long list of supposed harmful radiation and radio and electromagnetic fields from sources such as Wi-Fi, mobile phone, phone towers, death imprints and negative psychic impressions, solar flares, your home smart meter, and even your neighbour's television. A single Geoclense Home Harmonizer is even powerful enough to harmonize interdimensional imprinting radiation. That sounds like some New Age rock group, doesn't it? And now with our latest hit, it's interdimensional imprinting radiation. Go! Personal beams and a variety of other made-up stuff for up to 12 acres or an entire 59-story building, end quote. What if you live on the 60th floor? You're sort of out of luck, aren't you? What if you live on the second floor? Does it really give you a lot of protection? And the further you go up, the less? Or from a little bit of resin. The product promises to neutralize electromagnetic radiation, radio frequencies, and cosmic energy. Cosmic energy. Cosmic energy. Quote, in our modern world, things like this are impossible to avoid. Well, I would have thought that cosmic energy was impossible to avoid if it exists from day one. But this solid block of plastic promises to bring an end to your suffering, end quote, Choice says. Now, here's one of the more ironically funny bits of the whole report, and this is what Orgone Effects is saying. Unlike other fake energy harmonizers, which Orgone Effects Australia claim can only create imaginary energy balancing fields of up to 6 meters or less, Geoclense claims to harmonize electromagnetic radiation and energy imprinting from electrical appliances, wiring and power lines up to 200 meters from your property, and earth and magnetic grid lines up to 400 meters away. Now, I think these grid lines, I think these must be the ley lines that you may have heard about, these mythical lines of energy that run around the planet. But I love this line, unlike other fake energy harmonizers. I wonder which ones they mean. And I wonder how they tested them, the Orgone Effects Australia. I know what sort of test they would have done, actually, if they did any tests at all. They would have used, here it comes, dowsing rods or divining rods. In fact, when I was speaking to one of their representatives over a year ago, I think, it's hard to remember, Mind Body Wallet comes up every 6 months, so after all these years they sort of get lost in a bit of a blur. But at one occasion I was actually having a very nice and polite chat to one of the representatives, expressing my doubts, of course. And at the end of the chat, I offered them details of the Australian Skeptics $100,000 challenge. But during the course of my chat with one of the representatives about this Orgone energy and the products they were selling, he said that they would test things using dowsing rods to see if it was working, like a lump of resin on the table or a harmonizer or what have you. And indeed, the phone patches they sell, when I asked him what was one of the ways you knew it was working, well, dowsing rods. And in fact, on the table at their exhibition stand, they had dowsing rods there, ready to go. Oh, the other way you can test it is by doing Kirlian photography or aura photography. That says a lot. Choice magazine put the product, which retails for $150, through a series of laboratory tests of the supplier's claims, including impact on magnets and electromagnetic fields, none. Increase in the number of photons, none. Increase in oxygen levels, none. And generating negative ions, none. And you'll remember from last week they rounded off their report by saying Geoclense has, quote, the effectiveness of a tinfoil hat, but lacks the hat's potential for use in food preparation, end quote. One purchaser on a review site did vouch for Geoclense's effectiveness. Quote, the day after plugging it in, I noticed the postman delivered our mail 10 minutes earlier, which is one of the few claims not listed by the manufacturer and should definitely be added. It also manages to make money disappear, but then, if you bought one, you'd already know that, end quote. Orgone Effects customer relations. Australian Skeptics has had a number of run-ins with the Geoclense supplier Orgone Effects Australia. In 2016, Skeptics investigator Richard Saunders had an interesting discussion with one of the company reps, as I was just telling you about, at the Mind, Body, Spirit exhibition in Sydney. Even though Saunders was upfront about his role in the Skeptics, they talked openly about their range of products, which include harmonizers for mobile phones and Wi-Fi radiation, wristwatches, the Ionic Personal Protection Pendant, Harmony Wear Jewellery, Ionic Shoe Insoles, and an Ionic Toothbrush. That'll really... What, do you get a zap when you do that? Would you put it under running water? An offer to apply for the Australian Skeptics $100,000 prize was also made at this encounter. In August 2016, Saunders ordered one of the Orgone Effects phone harmonizers as part of an ongoing investigation into such devices. But when the company management realised who he was, they refunded his money. Now, that was interesting. That was on the 11th of August 2016, and in the morning... the Australian Skeptics are looking at a range of these phone radiation shields, and as part of the process, I bought one from this company, and so on, and then I bought one online from Orgone Effects Australia. Within an hour or just over an hour, I noticed in my PayPal my purchase had been refunded very quickly. And I was a bit confused, and then very shortly after I had a text message on my phone, and it said, quote, "Are you from Australian Skeptics?" End quote. My reply, quote, "Yes, I noticed a refund. Are you out of stock?" End quote. I heard nothing more. So I can imagine, I can surmise, I can speculate that after my conversation with one of the reps and the passing of over of our challenge, which is a little flyer, novelty check flyer, much like the James Randi Educational Foundation used to give out, that discussions ensued at Orgone Effects Australia. And the next time I showed up at the Mind, Body, Spirit after this, so that would have been late in 2016, in November, I think it was. Before I even got to the stand of the Orgone Effects Australia, they called security. And by the time Ian Bryce, my friend and investigator, turned up, as we walked down the corridor, security that were there, both the reps from Orgone Effects Australia were very nervous and hyper, and they looked like rabbits in the headlight. One of them took out his camera and took a picture of me for some reason. "We're not talking to you. You're from Australian Skeptics. You're here to cause trouble," they said. It's a pity they took this attitude, because my last encounter with them was very friendly. But I imagine if you're selling products like this, you might be worried about investigations. We read on. However, this sensitivity to negative skeptical vibes didn't stop them selling a phone harmonizer to Skeptics Executive Officer Tim Mendham at the next Mind, Body, Spirit Fair in 2017. This is the same one where they called security on me, but Tim Mendham went down to their stall sometime earlier and simply bought one of their products. The seller told Mendham that while the harmonizer was supposed to be stuck to the back of the phone, and this is a little sticker, this is just a sticker you put on, it could also be stuck onto the phone cover, or in fact, just allowed to slide around the cover without being fixed. The effect would be the same, he said, without any irony. This is not the first time the subject of orgone energy has been investigated by Australian skeptics. In 1986, the late racing car driver Peter Brock was awarded the Bent Spoon for his ill-fated energy polarizer box, which was also based on orgone energy. Now, this was a little box you put under the bonnet or the hood of the car, and it claimed to make the car run smoother, better, give you more economy, everything like that. And this was based on this mythical orgone energy. It looks like there will be another Bent Spoon nomination for this mythical energy in 2017. Yes, that should come soon on the Australian Skeptics website. And nominations are open for the 2017 Bent Spoon Award if you live in Australia and you'd like to nominate an Australian outfit, company, product, psychic, clairvoyant, government department. You can do that at skeptics.com.au shortly, I think. With this history and such a damning report from the respected organisation Choice, we cannot help but wonder if at long last the ACCC, Consumer Affairs Victoria, where the company is located, or other state-based consumer affairs departments might also like to take a keen interest in the products and claims of Orgone Effects Australia. And of course, they are the right people to do it. Choice Magazine have done a great job in investigating this. The Australian Skeptics investigate things like this all the time. But ultimately, we can't change the law or have the same effect as a government department who regulates such things. This is basic consumer affairs. If you sell a lump of plastic and make all these claims about it, then you have to back up those claims. They have to be real, like any product sold by anybody, ranging from mobile phones to microphones, I'm using now, computers, fridges, it doesn't matter. We have consumer laws in Australia. We have laws that protect you when you buy something. We have laws about making claims, advertising, and whatever the people at Orgone Effects Australia believe, they have to abide by these laws. For a good laugh, Google Orgone Energy, O-R-G-O-N-E, Orgone Energy, and find out about the history of this wacky, crazy, zany, off-the-wall madcap theory.
Großes Hallo an alle deutschen Zuhörer des Skeptic Zone Podcasts. Wusstet ihr, dass es auch in Deutschland einen Skeptikerverband gibt? Für weitere Informationen über uns und das Skeptiker Magazin besucht www.gwup.org. Ich wiederhole, www.gwup.org und unsere offiziellen Facebook, Twitter und Google Plus Seiten.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone, and another congratulations to Maynard. It's quite an interesting thing when Maynard's doing something for the Skeptic Zone, as you heard with these wonderful interviews at the Brian Greene talk, how he is running around like a lunatic getting lots of content. But I promise you the situation is reversed as just the other night at the Podcasting Awards when I was running around like a lunatic with my video camera and lights so Maynard could do the red carpet, the Vox Pops on the red carpet. And look, I'll link to the video of the Podcast Awards in the show notes so you can see all the awards and, of course, Maynard running up to the stage and being a bit of a goose. What you heard in the earlier in the introduction was a edited version of his acceptance speech. So if you want to hear the whole thing, head for the link I'll post in the show notes. I'm looking forward to next weekend, everybody. I'm looking forward to next weekend. I'm going to be catching up with some friends from the Stranger Things group here in Sydney. We're having a Working Bee afternoon. Working Bee, a meeting, a think tank? I don't know what you'd call it. We're going to be spending hours on laptops researching predictions as part of the great prediction project I'm working on. Looking forward to that. It should be a lot of fun. Thank you to those people who continue to support the Skeptic Zone financially. You can do that at skepticzone.tv. Some people chip in $1 a week. Some people chip in $5. Some very generous people chip in a bit more. And it all adds up and means that I can keep bringing you the show, and the reporters can keep bringing you the show too. So thank you. Thank you once again. But for this week, as I go and gargle something or other to help my poor old croaky voice from last night, I think I got a bit carried away. That was me yelling, hooray, when Maynard won the award. For this week, this is Richard Saunders, Maud who's sleeping. Yes, Maud who's sleeping next to me. I don't know where Henrietta is. I think she's under the bed somewhere. Signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter @SkepticZone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.